For Off the Block, I'm Ving Lopes, and I am now joined by Long Beach State men's volleyball head coach Knipe. And Coach, your team is in the NCAA tournament, preparing for your play-in match. I want to ask you, though, what was your reaction on Sunday when you saw that your team was still in the championship hunt and made the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's an exciting moment for the program. It's obviously something that we've set our goals to do, and it's a little bit of an emotional roller coaster for you when you have to wait for the at-large, especially when the last couple of years have been real tough. This year was, meaning as far as how close the at-large criteria are, and it was certainly that this year. So, you're waiting because it's not necessarily in your hands. There's only one way for it to be in your hands, and that is to get the AQ, and that's not an easy ticket to get. And but it's important to keep the idea of you got to feel confident in your body of work, and we certainly did feel really confident in that. We felt like we held a lot of really key points, and we felt like we also scheduled really well to help us have the opportunity should the AQ not go our way. And, so ultimately we felt really strong about our case. But, it's obviously one of those ones you're waiting for your name to pop up. And when Long Beach State's name was put into the bracket, it's exciting. And then it's that feeling of, all right, let's get to work.
Yeah. And, Coach, I want to ask you, because, there's been so much talk even before this year started about the freshman class that you had coming in, and couple that with a bunch of great upperclassmen. I know a lot of fans were saying the expectation was a championship for you guys this year. And I want to ask you, have you ever had that experience before where you do have a young team, but the expectation is a championship, and how were you able to manage that?
Well, it's a special class. There's no doubt we put a lot of time and effort into bringing this class in. We spent a lot of time with how we were going to recruit and how we set up our team, a couple of years ago to how we trained last year's team and who we recruited for last year's team, all around knowing that these guys were coming in. So my staff and I have spent a lot of time putting this together. So yeah, it's an exciting time. As far as expectations, we have pretty high expectations as a volleyball program here, and we always have. So I don't really think any external pressure as far as, hey, you're getting some good young kids and you're going to have a good team, really mattered to us. And I don't mean that to be cliche, because the expectation for us is to be playing the best volleyball we're capable of come to the end of the year and put ourselves in a situation where we have a chance to play for a national championship. And that's something we've talked about as a program, for the 20 years I've been around it as a player and as a coach. And so we're excited about that. And the young guys came in, and they were able to compete early for some spots. And we had some really good guys in the gym who have played a lot of matches for us, also battling with them. And we talked a lot about it doesn't matter who played last year. It doesn't matter who's going to start this year. The only thing that matters is becoming the best Long Beach State team we're capable of in 2016. And I think the guys have bought in, and they've done a heck of a job.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about a couple of your upperclassmen, but before I do that, I want to ask you about your freshman class, and I apologize because I am sure you've been asked this question 10,000 times, but we'll make it 10,001 and I'll ask you. Can you just talk about how this recruiting class came together, and how long it took you to recruit these players like TJ, Josh, and Kyle, and and what that was like to get them all to come to Long Beach State?
Well, it's probably not as crazy of a story as one would believe. Josh is a local Long Beach kid. This is a place he wanted to play. We actually recruited his older brother when he was in high school, got to know the family. His brother ultimately ended up going to Hawaii, and we didn't get him, but I think that this time around they wanted Josh to be a little closer to home, and I think there was that mutual recruiting going on of, we wanted to be close, we wanted to play here, we wanted to play in our program, and they're a wonderful, huge family. I mean, Josh has by far the biggest amount of fans in the crowd from a family standpoint every match, so it's an exciting thing for them as a family, so it just worked out really well. And then, TJ was in a situation where he wanted to play in a program. He had a chance to play early, he had a chance to win, and he had a chance to be in a program that would help him develop, as a national team player, hopefully down the road. And he knew there was a chance to play with some of his buddies, and of course, just like with his center from club in high school, with Josh, which is pretty special. And then when it comes to Kyle, Kyle is a younger brother of a guy we already have in the program, and that's something I'm always really proud of. We've had a lot of siblings, whether it be the Crabs or the Caldwells or, the Clips family. We've had a whole bunch of those, and that's, I think, a huge credit to your program that a family sends one and feels so comfortable and enjoys the experience so much they want to send another one. So it's kind of from the outside looking in, it looks like that class maybe had no common threads that wanted to come to Long Beach, but in reality, there was a lot of reasons why it was a mutual recruitment, and we were excited to get them.
Yeah. Well, we talked about your freshmen. I do want to ask you about some of your upperclassmen, especially your middles this year. Both of them have been hitting lights out offensively and playing good defense. What have they been able to do this year that's allowed them to be so successful on the court?
Well, ultimately, I think there's balance in our offense. There's a lot of threats at the pin, so you got to be concerned with some of the guys we have on the outside, which makes a middle better. And what makes an outside better is having some threats in the middle that you have to be concerned with. So I think we just have more balance that helps everybody out. But yeah, we have a pretty special kid setting the ball, and the connection's really good. And it starts with our passing, mainly from Andrew Sato, who has been just really, really rock solid as the serve-receive libero this year. And our outside hitters can pass the ball as well. So we've been in system a lot, and that allows Josh to be confident of getting some connections going, whether it be with our quicks, our outsides, our back row attack, and keeping some teams off guard. And then, we put in a lot of work with some of the routes that we run and some of the things that we do with our middles that give them a pretty high percentage opportunity to be successful. But let's not kid ourselves. It comes down to a lot of work, and our whole team has worked real hard. But our middles, and as far as getting better with their connections with Josh, whether it be in system or out of system, have put in a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah. And Coach, this year the NCAA tournament format is a little bit different just in terms of the time, because usually, there's only days in between the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. This year you have a week plus to prepare. So I want to ask you, do you like the amount of time off, and how are you guys spending this week in practice? What are you doing to prepare for the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's a really quick turnaround, and so quick, it makes it so difficult to really do anything other than just maintain. And in a situation where we have a week, we get an opportunity to get back from Provo, get our legs underneath us a little bit, and have an opportunity to train at some things. And so it really becomes one of those weeks that you feel like, in our conference, we'll either play Wednesdays and Fridays or Thursdays and Saturdays because we're always working around a basketball schedule. And then as the basketball schedule ends, we tend to be a Friday, Saturday type program. And in those weeks, they're always great because you get an opportunity early in the week to maybe recover a little bit. You also get a couple of days back-to-back to train. And so it has that feel of those kind of weeks where you have a number of days where you get to work on your own game and also get some things in from the scouting report. So I actually prefer it. I like it. I think it's great for the tournament itself to have some teams come in prepared, both physically and mentally ready to play.
All right, Coach. Well, and final question, we'll let you go on this then, because I'm sure that you still have a lot more preparation to do for the match, but just initially, and what you know about the team, what's kind of your initial thoughts of your playing match opponent, Erskine?
Well, I know that the teams we're about to play have all won their conference, whether it be on our side of the bracket, whether it be them, whether it be BYU, and Ohio State's out there with their conference champions. So these are teams that have won a lot of matches, so they've played a good brand of volleyball. They have, from what we've seen, they have some really nice athletes that do some good things. It looks like they're incredibly well coached and disciplined at some things that they try to run. That's always exciting. They do some things a little differently than necessarily we always see in our conference, so we have to prepare for that. But yeah, we have a lot of respect for them. They're a conference champion playing in a Final Six. They deserve to be there. We're excited for the opportunity to get out and compete against them.